Take a slow breath with me. Ease your pace. Let your shoulders drop. If your chest feels heavy right now, that feeling isn't imaginary. And if a specific name quietly surfaced in your mind, there's a reason for that too. Someone who once walked away from you is thinking about you tonight. Not lightly, not randomly, but because regret has finally become louder than pride. Some connections don't truly end. They don't break, they go quiet. And sometimes, silence finds its way back as a phone call. If that call comes, what they say won't just surprise you, it will completely change how you understand the past. Stay with me for a moment. Tonight feels different, doesn't it? There's a strange weight in the air, the kind that appears right before something shifts. You tell yourself it's just another night, but your heart refuses to believe that, because somewhere, someone who once chose to leave you can't settle tonight. They've been distant for a long time. They went far. They left you standing alone with unanswered questions. And now, after all this time, they want to reach out. Not to casually check in, not to say hello, but to finally speak the words they were too afraid to say back then. What they're holding inside won't just surprise you. It will change how you see both the past and yourself. Stay with me. This story may be yours. Part 1. The night they can't ignore you anymore. You didn't notice it at first, but something feels off tonight. They've tried to distract themselves scrolling, talking, staying busy. None of it worked, because when the world finally quieted down, you returned to their mind, not as a memory, but as a feeling. They're sitting there right now, phone in hand, staring at the screen longer than they should. Your name is still saved exactly the same. Your number is still there, untouched, but never forgotten. You were the one they believed they could walk away from, the one they assumed would always be there if they ever decided to return. So they left. No explanation, no real ending, no understanding of what silence would eventually cost them. And you carried that silence alone. You questioned yourself, replayed conversations, wondered what you did wrong even when you hadn't done anything at all. But tonight, regret outweighs their pride. Tonight, the distance they created finally feels real. They're realizing something painful. Walking away didn't make them free. It made them lonely. Now, they're standing at a crossroads. Press call, or live with the regret forever. If they call tonight, it's because the truth inside them refuses to stay quiet any longer. Part 2. What they've been holding back. If the call comes, speaking won't be easy for them. Their voice will hesitate, not because they don't know what to say, but because they know exactly what they should have said long ago. They've been carrying words for months. Maybe years. Words they swallowed every time they thought, it's too late now. Words they buried because pride felt safer than honesty. They want to admit they were wrong. Wrong for leaving without explaining. Wrong for choosing distance over communication. Wrong for assuming you'd understand their silence. And only now do they see the truth. You didn't need space. You needed reassurance. They've replayed moments with you, your patience, the way you listened, the calm you held, even when you were hurting. They finally understand something they couldn't before. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking for effort. And the hardest realization of all, you gave them something they didn't know how to return. If they call, expect pauses. Expect imperfect words. Expect emotions they never allowed themselves to feel. Because this isn't a casual call. It's a confession. Release. A moment where fear steps aside and truth finally speaks. And the question keeping them awake tonight is simple. Will you still recognize them now that they finally see you? Part 3. When the call finally comes, if you're still here, understand this. It's for those who felt something shift after the first part. Because this connection isn't ordinary. When the phone rings, time doesn't move the same way. There's a pause, that quiet second where everything you buried starts to rise. You look at the screen, the name you trained yourself not to expect anymore. Your hand hesitates, not because you don't want to answer, but because answering means reopening something you barely learned how to survive without. You pick up. You hear their breathing. And in that silence, everything that was never said suddenly exists. Their voice sounds different, softer, careful, like someone who finally understands what they almost lost. They don't make excuses. They say your name slowly, as if saying it out loud again might hurt. Then they admit it. They didn't know how to stay. They confuse distance with control, silence with strength. You're not begging anymore. You're not asking to be understood. You've grown. In the way you don't rush to fill the silence, in the way you're no longer asking them to choose you. And suddenly, they realize something painful. This call isn't about getting you back. It's about facing the version of you they never deserved back then. Part 4. What they realize too late after the call ends. The silence feels different. Not empty, heavy. They sit there, staring at the screen, replaying your voice. Not the words. The calm. That calm unsettles them more than anger ever could. They expected pain. Questions. That you'd still be waiting where they left you, but you weren't. And that's when it hits them. You didn't stop living when they walked away. You felt the pain. You cried where no one could see. You questioned your worth in the quiet. And then, slowly, you healed. They realized something both painful and beautiful. You became stronger without them. The person they spoke to isn't waiting for closure, isn't chasing understanding, isn't holding their breath anymore. You learned how to stand alone, how to breathe without answers, how to stop chasing what doesn't choose you. And they finally understand the cost of leaving, not just losing you, but losing the chance to grow alongside you. They see now that love isn't something you visit when it's convenient. It's a presence, a responsibility, a daily choice. And the truth they can't escape tonight is this: you didn't change because you stopped loving. You changed because you learned to love yourself. Some lessons arrive late and stay forever. Part 5. What the call changes forever. What they don't realize right away is this: the call didn't change you. It changed them. While they were deciding whether to be brave enough to reach out, you were learning how to live without answers. While they were protecting pride, you were learning how to release hope that hurt. Tickle wasn't meant to bring you back together. It was meant to bring clarity. Clarity that you were never too much. Clarity that your love was real. Clarity that silence wasn't your failure. It was their fear. And standing on the other side of that conversation, you finally understand something powerful. You don't need them to choose you anymore. You already chose yourself. If they grow, you'll see it. And if they don't, you won't beg, chase, or explain again. Because you crossed a line you can't uncross. You learned that love should never feel like waiting in the dark. Take all tea, reopen your wounds. If this story feels familiar, take a slow breath. You're not weak for feeling deeply. Some people return to apologize. Some return to show us how far we've grown. If someone from your past crossed your mind while listening, that's okay. You're allowed to remember without returning. You're allowed to feel without reopening doors. I choose peace over confusion. Subscribe, because the next video might say the words your soul has been waiting to hear. You found yourself.